His mother mocked the waitress, but the mafia boss's response silenced the whole room. The glass pitcher shook in Mina's hands the second Salvo Grimaldi pushed his chair back. The whole dining room froze. Silverware hung in the air. Every face turned toward him, as if the sound of that chair scraping the floor carried a warning none of them wanted to test. He rose slow, shoulders steady, jaw locked. His eyes didn't move from his mother, Elvira Grimaldi, who still held her wineglass like she owned the room. Mina stood inches away, her breath unsteady. Sweat slid down her palms. Her pulse hit her throat so hard she thought the whole place heard it. "Say it again," Salvo said. The way he spoke made the walls tighten. His voice came out calm even, and cold enough to pull heat out of the candle flames around them. Elvira crossed one leg over the other. "I said what I said. Look at her. She should be serving food, not sitting at the same table with us." Someone gasped. Someone else whispered a name they regretted saying aloud. A man in the corner moved his chair back as if expecting the night to snap in half. The pitcher wobbled in Mina's grip. She swallowed and tried to step away, to get out of reach before she ruined the night even more, but her shoes wouldn't move. Her knees locked. She didn't understand what she walked into. She didn't understand why his mother looked at her like she was dirt. And she didn't understand the quiet in Salvo's stare. He didn't blink. Not once. "Mina," he said, his voice dropping lower. "Don't move." Her fingers froze around the glass handle. The tension spread out in slow waves, reaching every corner of La Felicita. People who paid thousands for a plate leaned forward like they forgot their meals ever mattered. Salvo turned his head toward Elvira. Just his head, nothing else, and even that small movement felt like something sharp sliding into place. "You're going to apologize to her." Elvira laughed once. A soft, sharp sound. "Salvo, sit down. You're embarrassing yourself." He didn't sit. He didn't move. That wasn't a request. A chair leg scraped somewhere. A fork fell and clattered. Two servers peeked from the kitchen, then ducked back because they knew exactly what families like this were capable of when pride hit the wrong nerve. Mina forced out a breath. "Salvo, it's all right. I'm fine." "Please." "No," he said without looking at her. "You're not fine. Someone disrespected you." Her throat tightened. She didn't understand why her chest hurt, why her eyes burned, why she felt smaller than she had in years. She didn't grow up around diamonds and long tables and the kind of people who believed their hands stayed clean because they never washed a dish. She understood work. She understood early mornings and late buses and meals eaten standing up because sitting slowed you down. She didn't understand this. Elvira set her wine down. "She is a staff. She serves. She is not one of us. The sooner she understands her place, the better." For one long second, everything inside Salvo went still. Even his breath paused. Then he stepped forward. Guests pushed their chairs back. No one wanted to be caught in the crossfire of a mother and her son, especially not this son, the one whose name was spoken low in 3 different cities. Elvira narrowed her eyes. "You invited her." "I didn't. If she can't handle the truth, maybe she shouldn't have come." Salvo took another step. Someone at the table whispered, "Oh God." He didn't look at them. He just said, "Apologize to her." The command didn't feel like a shout. It felt like a locked door. No way around it. No way through it. Only one choice left. Elvira smiled without warmth. "No." And that was the wrong answer. Salvo's jaw tightened. His fingers curled at his sides. The room drew tighter around him, like everyone expected something to snap. Then, soft but firm, Mina whispered, "Salvo, please. It's not worth it." Her voice broke on the last word. That was the moment the room truly shifted. He turned toward her for the first time since standing. His face wasn't angry. He didn't even look upset. He looked steady, focused, as if the whole night narrowed down to one truth only he saw. "You don't get to walk away because she tried to shame you." Elvira scoffed. "Shame? Please. You act like she's royalty." Salvo turned back to his mother. "Enough." The word hit, like dropped stone. Heavy, final. He reached for Mina's wrist, not hard, not possessive, but clear enough to keep her from backing away again. Mina's breath caught. The pitcher shook. Water beaded on her fingers. 3 women at another table leaned so far forward their earrings swung. "Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you were watching from, and what time I. Salvo didn't release Mina's wrist. He lifted his chin and looked at his mother again. "You're done here." Elvira's eyes widened. "Excuse me? You will get your coat. You will leave this restaurant tonight, and you will not speak to her like that again." The words hit the table like a dropped plate. Elvira rose halfway out of her chair. "You think you can send me out like I'm some stranger?" Salvo didn't raise his voice. "Right now, you're acting like one." Gasps shot across the room. A man at the far end whispered, "This is bad." Another muttered, "He chose her. He actually chose her." Mina's heartbeat slammed through her. She opened her mouth to tell him to stop, to sit, to breathe, to not destroy his bond with his mother because of her. But no sound came out. Elvira stood fully now, her dress catching the light. Her pride cracked around the edges, her face tightening as if she felt the stares of every person who once bowed to her presence. "You're throwing away your bloodline for a girl who brings water to tables." Salvo stepped forward until both of them stood inches apart. "I'm throwing away the part of my bloodline that believes insults count as tradition." Silence hit the room like a final bell. Someone whispered, "He's choosing a different path." Someone else whispered, "His mother will never forget this." Elvira grabbed her purse. "This is a mistake." Salvo looked directly at her. "No. This is the first right choice I've made in a long time." She glared at Mina. "You'll regret ever meeting him." Salvo cut in. "She won't regret anything. You're the one leaving the table alone." That was the breaking point. Elvira turned sharply and walked out, heels hitting the floor hard. 2 guards stepped aside, unsure if they were supposed to follow her or stay with Salvo. They chose the safer option. They stayed. The door shut behind her like a final line. Drawn. The diners exhaled as one. Mina's knees weakened. Her eyes blurred. She didn't know if she should drop the pitcher and run, break down, or thank him. But before she could decide, Salvo leaned close enough for her to hear only one thing. "You're safe." Her breath shook. "Salvo, why did you do that?" He didn't blink. "Because someone needed to." Someone in the room whispered, "This night isn't over." And they were right. Because at that exact moment, before anyone could take another breath, the front doors of La Felicita opened again. Only this time, it wasn't Elvira. 3 men in dark coats walked in, heads low, steps lined like they had a purpose that didn't match dinner reservations. A woman near the entrance whispered, "Wait, those aren't regular guests." The tallest one scanned the room. His eyes stopped on Salvo. Then he reached inside his coat. The dining room froze again. "What do you think these men want from Salvo?" Drop your guesses in the comments and hit that like button if this moment had your heart racing. The gun wasn't drawn, but the man's fingers didn't stop moving inside his coat. Salvo didn't blink. His body didn't shift. The tension in the room climbed with every step the 3 strangers took. Dark jackets, no smiles, quiet shoes. They moved like men who never needed to explain why they were somewhere. The lead man's hand came out. Wallet. He placed it slowly on the host's table. The other 2 stopped beside him. The lead man spoke, low, rough. "We'll wait." Salvo gave the faintest nod. The host, sweating through his collar, asked, "Should we bring a table?" "No." The man didn't look at him. He kept staring at Salvo. "We're not here for dinner." Then they moved to the far corner, backs to the wall, eyes never dropping. Mina's fingers still trembled around the pitcher. She looked at Salvo. He whispered. Later. She stepped back. The buzz in the room didn't return. Not fully. It was broken, shaken. And in Salvo's head, a different scene played. He wasn't standing in La Felicita anymore. He was 11 again, standing in a marbled hallway too wide for comfort, while his uncle's voice thundered through the air like he was king of the city. "Money is respect. Respect is everything. Without it, they'll eat you alive." His cousin Rennie grinned wide, tossing $100 bills like confetti toward two girls on the staircase. His other uncle, Flavio, laughed so hard his cigar almost dropped. Laughter echoed off gold frames and crystal vases. The house stunk of cologne and meat. A birthday party, they called it. But Salvo knew what it was. A show. He stood against the wall, watching the chaos unfold like he didn't belong in the picture. Because even then, he saw the cracks in it. The way the girls looked over their shoulders before pocketing the cash. The way the men drank like they were drowning something. Elvira had stood to the side, draped in pearls and judgment. Her eyes didn't soften once. She touched Salvo's shoulder. "Stand up straight. You are a Grimaldi. Let them see it." Salvo nodded, but he didn't smile. He never liked the taste of performance. He liked silence, pattern, numbers, the way the books told more truth than any of the men who filled them with lies. By 14, Salvo stopped attending half the parties. By 16, he found the flaw in one of Flavio's offshore accounts. By 17, he'd heard a secret. And at 18, he made his move. It was Rennie again, the cousin with the loudest jokes and the sloppiest pockets. He'd bragged about flipping cash through a warehouse in East Rutherford. Except the numbers didn't add up. Not to Salvo. The deposits were fast. Too fast. Cleaned through a side gambling ring their family didn't own. Salvo asked questions. Rennie got nervous. Elvira told him to drop it. "Don't poke into your cousin's business. He's earning respect. You should learn from him." Salvo said nothing. He followed a wire transfer that didn't match, then another. Then he traced the ownership of the warehouse back to a shell company listed under a name Rennie had used once, back in boarding school, to rent a hotel suite underage. That was the moment Salvo knew. Rennie was laundering money that didn't belong to the family. He was double-dipping, using the Grimaldi name to wash for someone else. The next day, Salvo walked into the dining room and slid a folder across the table to the old man at the head, Don Alvise's grandfather. "I believe this belongs to you." The Don opened the folder. 1 page in, he said nothing. 2 pages in, his jaw clenched. 3 pages in, he waved his hand once. Everyone left the room except Salvo. 30 minutes later, Rennie's name vanished from the family's books. Not long after, so did Rennie. Elvira didn't speak to Salvo for 2 months. When she did, her words were clipped. Was that necessary? He said, "Would you rather the feds found it first?" She didn't answer. He became the youngest name added to the family operations board at 22, and from that day, everyone walked slower when he entered a room. Even Elvira. But her eyes still judged every step he took. She started pushing him to attend charity dinners. "Be seen," she said. "Smile more. You're too cold." She introduced him to the daughter of a former senator. She was sweet, polished. Not once did she ask Salvo what he wanted from life. She only asked what watch he wore. He never called her again. Then came the ballerina from Milan, brilliant, gorgeous. She danced at his cousin's engagement party and leaned close enough for her perfume to stick. She touched his hand under the table once, giggling. "That night," Elvira said flatly, too obvious. "She's out." Salvo didn't argue. He just stopped trying. He kept his distance. From dinners, from women, from anyone Elvira might dissect and destroy. He trusted no one easily. Until Mina, and even now, standing in a restaurant full of tension with 3 unknown men watching his every move, he knew Elvira would twist this story. She would say Mina seduced him. She would say he was blinded. She would never say the truth. That for the first time, Salvo stood for someone not out of strategy, but because it mattered. He exhaled slowly, eyes locked on the table ahead. One of the men in coats shifted. His hand moved near his waist again. Salvo raised 2 fingers slightly, a sign. From across the room, his own security detail stepped out. Silent, calm, no weapons drawn. They stood between Mina and the newcomers before she even realized it. One of the suited men stepped forward. The lead man spoke again. "Your mother sent us." Salvo tilted his head. "Did she?" His voice was cool, dry. The man gave a slight nod. She wants to talk. Salvo didn't blink. Then she knows how to find me. The man's eyes flicked to Mina, then back to Salvo. You're making mistakes. Salvo gave a half smile. I've made worse. He turned to walk away, but paused, looked over his shoulder. Tell her this isn't about a girl. It's about a decision. And I've already made it. The men didn't move. Neither did Salvo's team. The standoff ended with a breath. The strangers turned and walked out. Not a single bite had been touched since the moment Salvo stood. When he sat again, the air didn't shift. It held, heavy, unsure. Mina stood still. Her hand finally let go of the pitcher. It set down on the table with a soft clink. She didn't speak. Neither did he. Because in his mind, the memory hadn't left. That party, that moment, the girl who leaned close to kiss him, and the voice that followed. She's too eager. She's out. Back then, he believed Elvira was protecting something. Now he knew. She wasn't protecting legacy. She was controlling the narrative. And the question that haunted him now wasn't about Mina. It was about himself. How many times had he let someone be discarded without lifting a finger? How many people had been erased from his life before he knew what it cost? A hand touched his arm. Mina, she didn't say a word. She just looked at him like she didn't need explanations. He didn't deserve that trust, but it was there, and that scared him more than anything. Because one thing he knew about his mother and Elvira Grimaldi couldn't control something. She destroyed it. If someone tried to destroy your peace with a smile, would you still keep quiet, or would you finally stand? The back door slammed harder than Mina expected. Her shoulder hit the frame as she shoved it closed against the wind. Her shoes squeaked on the old tile floor of the bookstore. Morning, called her best friend, Raina, without looking up from behind the counter. Mina exhaled, dropped her purse under the desk and pulled her curls into a loose puff. Her fingertips were still sore from last night's double shift. 2 hours of sleep, she said, voice raw. Same, Raina muttered, typing into the register. Except I got paid less to do it. They both laughed. It didn't last long. The bell above the door rang again. A woman walked in, sniffled once, and headed for the self-help aisle. Mina didn't ask if she needed help. She recognized the look. Head down, clutching her purse like it held her whole life. Raina whispered, 3 guesses what she's buying. Healing after betrayal. 3rd shelf from the top. You win. Again. They worked quietly. Mina stocked 2 boxes of new arrivals, priced them by hand, then took her break on the window bench with a mug of plain black coffee. It was a simple place. Dust in the corners, creaky vents, tiny bathroom sink, but it felt safe. She worked mornings here to keep her balance, nights at La Felicita to keep her rent. 6 days a week, 1 shared room. She didn't complain. She couldn't afford to. At La Felicita, things were different. The chairs were heavier, the lights warmer, the air smelled like leather and secrets. Her first night there, she noticed the way people whispered when they sat at certain tables. No one ever asked questions. Some guests tipped too much. Others barely made eye contact, but none of them looked normal. Her second week, she watched a man in a tan suit hand an envelope to a teenager who looked barely 16. No one flinched. She didn't ask, just poured water and stepped back like the others. She stayed in the middle of the floor, never too close to the far corner. That corner table felt wrong. It wasn't just the people who sat there, it was the ones who didn't. The manager never assigned staff there unless the guest requested. When he did, they moved like they were being watched, like one mistake could cost more than tips. And sometimes she felt it. Eyes, not the kind that watched out of boredom, the kind that remembered. That table belonged to him. She didn't know his name for weeks, but she remembered the suit. Always dark, always perfect. No jewelry, no smile. He never raised his voice, never rushed his drink. But when he walked in, the whole staff straightened. Mina noticed how he never brought guests. Never pulled out a phone. Just sat there and watched. Once he spent 45 minutes looking out the window without blinking. She thought he looked sad, not angry, not scary, just heavy. That same night, he caught her eye. She looked away instantly. The next week, he showed up twice, then 3 times. One night she was sent to his table for the first time. Her hands had just stopped shaking when she placed the glass in front of him. He looked at her, just looked, and said, "No lemon." His voice wasn't rude. It wasn't sharp. It was deep, even, and final. She nodded. "Yes, sir," then walked away before her breath gave her up. After that, it became a pattern. He always came alone, always asked for her, never smiled, but never disrespected her. Until that night. She didn't even realize it had happened. The end of the shift. Heavy rain outside. Her apron soaked from a spill in the kitchen. He stood to leave, reached for his wallet. It wasn't there. He patted his coat once, twice, checked the inside pocket. Mina stepped forward, nervous. "I can ask the manager to hold the check if—" He looked at her, not panicked, not embarrassed, just still. "I forgot it." She blinked. "It's okay. I'll come back. Tomorrow. You don't have to." He tilted his head. She shrugged. "You don't seem like a liar." His eyes flicked to hers, sharp but curious. That moment held. Then he nodded once, and walked out into the rain without saying another word. She didn't realize she was still holding the empty tray until the manager called her name. The next night he came back. He didn't order. He didn't sit. He handed her a folded bill and said, "For yesterday," then turned to leave. She opened it. It was $100. Much. She called after him, "Wait!" He paused. She didn't know what she was going to say, so she just added, "Thank you." He nodded. Again, that night, Raina noticed something was off. "You're quieter than usual." Mina shook her head. "Long shift." "Was he there?" Mina hesitated. "Yeah." "He say anything?" "Not much." Raina narrowed her eyes. "You always take longer at his table." Mina grabbed her notebook. "Don't start." Raina smirked. "You're glowing." "I'm tired." "Whatever you say." But she was right. Mina felt it too. Something shifted. He stopped being a customer. He became a presence in her life. Even when he wasn't there, she looked toward that corner without meaning to. Once, she caught herself hoping he'd come in. Twice, she adjusted her apron before walking over. She didn't understand it. It didn't make sense, but it was there. Then came the note. It was a Thursday. Busy. Noisy. 2 tables sent back food. A child threw up near the front door. She barely had time to breathe, let alone think. At the end of the night, after cash out, she returned to his table to wipe it down. Something folded sat under the water glass. She looked around. No one was near. Carefully, she lifted it. A small, square paper. Thick. Smooth. No. Logo. She opened it. A few words, written in sharp handwriting. "Next time, don't forget." Her stomach flipped. She looked up fast, scanning the door, the street beyond the glass, even the shadows by the bar. Nothing. He was gone. The chair was pushed in, and her pulse wouldn't calm. Mina almost didn't notice him at first. It had been 4 days since the note. She hadn't seen him. Not once. That night had ended quietly. No calls, no follow-up. Just that folded paper with the words still stuck in her head. She'd turned it over in her pocket more times than she could count. So when he appeared again, this time standing outside the bookstore, while she flipped the closed sign, her breath stopped short. He didn't wave, didn't approach, just stood across the street, coat open, hands in his pockets, watching like he'd been waiting for the moment. She opened the door. Halfway. "Do you need something?" His voice was soft. "Coffee." She blinked. At 6:40 p.m., some places stay open late. She stepped outside, pulled her hoodie tighter. Do you usually wait in the dark for someone to get off work? His head tilted. I didn't want to interrupt. Silence settled between them. Then he added, I owe you a thank you. For what? For trusting me. She hesitated. I didn't do much. You did enough. She looked away. Her keys dangled in her hand, fingers twitching. She didn't hate the sound of his voice. She hated how still she felt in front of him. You want to grab something now? He asked. No. A pause. Tomorrow? He asked. No. He didn't look hurt. He didn't press. She turned to unlock her bike from the railing. Before she pedaled off, he said, The third time, then. She didn't answer. But she didn't say no. The third time came quicker than she expected. She spotted him again 2 nights later, sitting at a small table outside Cafe Onda. No suit this time. A navy jacket. No watch. Just a coffee and a paperback in his hand. She stopped 3 steps away. He didn't look. Up. You read? I do now, he said. Is that for real or for show? He closed the book. What would you like to believe? She didn't answer. Just sat down across from him. The waiter came. She ordered tea. They didn't talk for 5 minutes. She asked first, What's your name? Salvo. Is that short for something? No. She waited for more. He offered nothing. So she added, Mina? I know. She frowned. How? He didn't hesitate. I asked. She paused. Who'd you ask? Someone who keeps the books at L.A. Felicita. Her chest tightened. You asked about me? He nodded. Calm, like it was obvious. Why? He met her eyes. Because you don't move like the others. She shifted. That's not an answer. You carry things without making noise. People miss it. She looked down at her cup. The steam curled between them. What else did you find out? Jackson Heights, books, long hours, quiet roommate. You walk 3 blocks out of your way to avoid the construction on Myrtle. She blinked. You followed me? No. She held his stare. It should have scared her. But it didn't. It was too calm, too open. I don't get involved with men who stare, she said. I wasn't staring, he said. I was waiting. For what? He answered too fast. A reason. That moment sat heavier than the rest of their silence. Dinner, he said. I already ate. He didn't smile. Not tonight. She crossed her arms. He added, a family dinner. Just food. Nothing formal. She raised a brow. Family? He nodded. Why? He didn't answer right away. When he did, it came quiet. Because if I don't bring you, they'll never understand why they lost. That confused her. He didn't explain it. She didn't ask again. Instead, she said, If I agree it has to be somewhere public, it will be. She studied his face. No games. No pressure. Still, it didn't feel simple. All right, she said. But I'm not wearing anything fancy. You don't need to. I don't want to be a problem. He shook his head. You're not the problem. The invitation came the next morning. An embossed card slipped under the bookstore door in a plain envelope. She opened it with shaking fingers. The address matched a restaurant. One of those places with valet signs, pressed linens, and people who made reservations weeks in advance. The event was titled Private Grimaldi Family Dinner. She stood in the back room of the bookstore staring at the card while Raina sat on a crate eating crackers. You're really going? Mina sighed. I think so. Raina eyed her. Girl, I don't care how smooth he talks. Rich men don't show up to bookstores for casual tea. Something's off. I know. You don't act like you know. I feel it, Mina said. Raina tossed a cracker in her mouth. Then don't go. Mina hesitated. What if he's different? Raina laughed. Then take a selfie with his real passport. I need proof. Mina showed up 10 minutes early. She wore borrowed shoes, black slacks, navy blouse, hair pulled back. She stood outside the restaurant's glass doors for a full minute before stepping in. The host smiled tight. Invitation? She handed it over. The host glanced at it, then his eyes lifted to hers. "I'll take you to the table." It wasn't a normal room. Everything was too still. Every guest had posture like a photo shoot. At the center table, Salvo stood up when he saw her. She took a breath. He pulled out her seat. Whispers started the moment she sat. A woman 3 seats down narrowed her eyes. Another elbowed the man beside her. And one woman, older, sharp cheekbones, gold earrings, leaned in to her left. Elvira Grimaldi. Mina didn't need to be told. She felt it in the air. The judgment rolled off her in slow waves. She looked at Salvo. He smiled once. Barely. Dinner started. She said little. She ate less. But she felt everything. And then it happened. The woman beside Elvira leaned in to whisper something behind her napkin. Elvira nodded. Her voice didn't drop low. "Enough. She smells like work." Mina's blood ran. Cold. Salvo froze mid-bite. He didn't speak. Not yet. But his whole body changed. The same way it did when glass pitchers almost slipped. When silence carried more power than volume. What would you do if someone insulted your worth while smiling across a dinner table? Share your thoughts in the comments and stay locked in. This story's heat is only rising. Mina's hand slid beneath the table, fingers curling tight against her thigh. The room didn't speak. Knives stayed frozen halfway through meat. Glasses hovered near lips. The air wasn't quiet, it was holding its breath. She had heard Elvira. Clearly. She smelled like work. Mina blinked. Twice. She didn't cry, but her chest pulled so hard it felt like her breath might snap in half. Elvira's cousin smirked into her wine glass. Another woman smoothed her napkin like the tension was nothing new. No one looked at Mina directly. Except him, Salvo. He didn't move at first. Just lowered his fork, set it on the plate, turned his head slowly toward his mother. "Elvira," he said. She looked up, calm as ever. "Yes?" "You'll apologize." A ripple passed through the table like a sudden draft. The way someone might flinch when a glass cracks under pressure. Elvira didn't blink. "For what?" His voice sharpened. "You know for what." She sighed. "You brought a girl who doesn't understand the room. That's not my fault. She's not the one being disrespectful. She's the help, Salvo." "No. She's the guest." Elvira laughed. "That's generous." Salvo stood up. Chairs scraped quietly as a few guests leaned back. Mina didn't move. She wanted to shrink, to vanish. But her legs wouldn't listen, and her stomach clenched tight. He said it again. "Apologize. You're making a scene, then apologize." Elvira tilted her head. "I don't apologize for speaking the truth." "You didn't speak the truth. You spoke poison." That landed hard. Someone cleared their throat and instantly regretted it. Another tried to pour water, hands trembling. Salvo's voice dropped. "You insulted someone at my table. Do you know how small that makes you?" Elvira's brow lifted. "Do you know how soft that makes you?" Mina looked at Salvo. His fists were clenched, jaw tight. "Elvira, don't make this worse. It's already worse," she said, waving her hand toward Mina. "You brought that into this space." "That?" "Her," she snapped. "You think she understands this life? She understands more than you think. She's a waitress, and she has more class than anyone at this table." Elvira sat back. "You don't mean that?" Salvo turned toward Mina. His voice softened. "Mina." She didn't answer. She was still frozen in her seat, eyes lowered, face burning. "Stand up," he said gently. She didn't know why her body listened, but it did. When she stood, the napkin slipped from her lap. She reached to pick it up, but Salvo caught her wrist. "Leave it." She looked at him, confused, vulnerable, afraid that the moment might get worse. He held her gaze. "She's not leaving," Elvira snapped. "Then I am—" Salvo looked at her flatly. "Good." The entire room shifted again. You could almost hear it. The moment his loyalty moved. "I won't sit at a table where someone I love is disrespected." You barely know her. I know enough. She's using you. No, he said. She doesn't want anything. You'll regret this, Salvo. He stepped toward his mother. No. What I regret is learning silence from you. Watching you humiliate people behind silk smiles and calling it power. You're embarrassing yourself. He raised his chin. No. I'm ending a cycle. Elvira stared at him like she didn't recognize the man standing across from her. You used to be smarter, she hissed. He didn't move. He didn't flinch. He just pointed toward the entrance. You can go now. A full 10 seconds passed. No one breathed. No one dared move. Then Elvira stood. Her chair groaned behind her. She clutched her purse with one hand and stared at every single person at the table. I won't forget this. Salvo nodded. I'm counting on that. She turned slowly. Her heels tapped the polished floor like a warning with every step. As she passed Mina, her head turned slightly. You don't belong here, she whispered, just loud enough. Salvo heard it. So did Mina. But he didn't speak again. Not until the door closed behind his mother. Only then did the room slowly exhale. Cutlery returned to plates. Small conversations resumed, scattered and nervous. Eyes dropped away from the scene, pretending they hadn't been pulled into it. But Mina was still standing. Her legs trembled now. She looked at Salvo. Her voice was quiet, thin. Why did you do that? He looked straight at her, not like a man apologizing, not like a boss defending his pride, just a man who meant every word. Because no one ever did it for me. The first hit didn't come from Elvira. It came from the people who feared her more than they trusted him. 2 days after the dinner, Salvo's assistant handed him a sealed envelope. Inside were 5 letters, 1 from a long-time supplier, 1 from a venue partner, 1 from a family attorney, 2 from men who'd once sworn loyalty to his name. All 5 backed away. Politely, quietly, strategically. Salvo read them once. Then again, he didn't rip them, didn't curse, just folded each one, placed them back in the envelope and set it aside. He already knew what was coming. Elvira didn't raise her voice when she lost. She rearranged the board. Within 24 hours, 2 stories circulated quietly among the city's business circles. One said Salvo had fallen under the influence of a manipulative woman. The other said he was emotionally unstable. Both traced back to one name, Elvira Grimaldi. He didn't respond. He didn't need to. Instead, he made one quiet phone call. The next day, the general manager of La Felicita was replaced. 2 of the senior waitstaff stepped down within hours. They knew the ripple effect, knew their names might end up on Elvira's blacklist. Salvo didn't stop them. He knew loyalty built on fear was already broken. That evening, he called a meeting with his 3 most trusted executives. 2 showed up. The 3rd sent a message, I'll be stepping back for now, hope you understand. He did. Because when honor costs comfort, not everyone pays. Mina sat on the roof of the bookstore that night, knees pulled to her chest, arms tight around them. She hadn't returned to La Felicita. Not since that dinner. Salvo hadn't pressured her. He hadn't texted, called, or sent a car. But somehow she knew he'd show up. And he did. Same jacket. Same walk. No guard. No coat trailing behind him like a warning. He stepped through the rooftop door, paused when he saw her, then walked over and sat on the far end of the ledge. She didn't look at him. He didn't speak. First, the wind moved slow. The street below buzzed faintly. Then he said, "How's your hand?" She looked down. "Still burns a little." "Hot plates?" "Anger." He nodded. "Yeah." She shifted. "You know what people are saying?" "Yes." "You don't care?" "I do." She turned. "Then why don't you defend yourself?" "Because when people see what you do long enough, they stop believing what they hear." Silence settled again. Then he reached into his coat and pulled out a folded envelope. Set it gently beside her. She stared at it. "What's that?" "An offer. I'm not taking money." "It's not money." She waited. He said, "I moved the foundation into a different structure. There's a department that handles outreach to low-income neighborhoods. I want you to lead that." Her face froze. "Why?" "Because I trust you." She laughed, short and bitter. "You don't know me. I know enough. I didn't ask to be rescued." He shook his head. "And I didn't rescue you. This isn't pity. It's about placing trust where it matters." She looked at him like she wanted to believe that, but couldn't. "I'm not a symbol, Salvo. I'm not some message for your mother. I know. I want to work because I've earned it. Not because I make you feel good about rebelling." He nodded once. "Then earn it." She blinked. "What?" He stood slowly. "The job's not a handout. It's responsibility. It's pressure. It's people who will hate you just for sitting at the table. But it's yours, if you want it." She didn't answer. He looked down at her one more time. "It's okay if you say no," then turned and walked back toward the door. She stared at the envelope. Didn't open it. Didn't toss it. She just kept sitting. Like the rooftop would tell her what her next move should be. If you've ever had to choose between family pride and doing what's right, tell us in the comments. And if you're still watching, hit that like button. The next morning, a new headline popped. Elvira Grimaldi distances herself from son's recent decisions. No direct quotes, just unnamed sources. Quiet leaks. Hints of instability. Another drop in a long game. Salvo didn't flinch. He walked into the foundation office, gave new orders, shifted funding, expanded outreach. No press conference, no fireback, just progress. 2 days later, Mina walked into that same office. No makeup, simple blouse. She placed the unopened envelope on his desk. He raised a brow. She said, "I'll do it." His jaw tightened, but he didn't smile. "You sure?" "No, but I don't want to run." He nodded. "Then you won't?" Her first meeting with the team was quiet. They didn't clap. They didn't welcome her like family. One woman left the room halfway through the session. Another whispered something under her breath. Mina didn't flinch. She passed around her notes, spoke clearly, listened more than she talked. She didn't need to win anyone. She just needed to show up. Salvo watched from the doorway, arms crossed, saying nothing. Later, she found a sticky note on her desk. "Trust grows where noise dies." No signature. But she knew. Still, she didn't reach out, didn't text him, didn't say thank you. She wanted to keep her own voice in this space. And he let her. One night, near closing, Salvo entered the office again. She was alone, sorting donation forms. He stood near the shelf, scanning her work without interrupting. She didn't look up. "You always walk in like you own air," she said. He chuckled softly. "It's my office." Still, he stepped closer. "You okay?" She shrugged. "People stare, whisper. They'll stop." "No, they won't," she said. "But I'll get used to it." A long pause. Then she added, "Why me, Salvo?" He frowned. "What do you mean? You could have brought anyone to that dinner. Someone polished, someone safe." He shook his head. "I didn't want safe. I wanted real." She swallowed. "Then you knew it'd blow up." "Yes, and you did it anyway." He nodded. "Why?" He stepped closer. Sat on the edge of the desk, looked straight at her. "Because pretending in front of liars made me feel clean. But standing beside you made me feel honest." She didn't expect that. Didn't know what to say, so she said, "Nothing." He stood. Again. "You'll be fine here," he said. Then he walked out. The wind on the rooftop was cooler than the streets below. Mina stepped out onto the gravel slowly, her sneakers crunching with every step. Lights from the city stretched in every direction. She could hear car horns, dogs barking faintly, the occasional rattle of a distant train. But up here, it all felt smaller. She looked up. He was already there. Salvo sat on the edge of a long wooden bench, elbows on his knees, sleeves rolled. A low table stood in front of him. No drinks, no music, just silence and space. She walked forward, slow but steady, until they were only a few feet apart. He looked up once, then back down at the skyline. She sat beside him. No greeting, just breath. Then, softly, her voice low, "I didn't ask you to save me." He didn't respond at first. The rooftop wind brushed her curls back from her cheek. She didn't tuck them behind her ear. Let them hang. He looked at her sideways. Calm. Still. "I know." She nodded once. "Then why?" His jaw flexed once. Not in anger. Just habit. A long pause. "My father," he began. He was quiet, distant, always working. But I remember him most at dinner, sitting at the end of the table, hands always in his lap, shoulders lowered. She listened without moving. He continued. My mother would speak, loud, direct. She ran the table like a courtroom. You could see people tense when she cut them short. Another pause. My father never stopped her, not once. Not even when she humiliated people. Mina tilted her head slightly. Especially not her. A silence fell. Again, her meant someone. Specific. Who was she? My father's sister, Aunt Evelyn. Softest woman you'd ever meet. She brought handmade cookies to every event, even when no one asked. Always asked people how they were and actually waited for an answer. Mina's fingers curled against her palm. One day, Salvo said, voice rougher now, she forgot to bring a gift to a family wedding. She just forgot. My mother humiliated her. In front of 70 guests. He rubbed his jaw once. My father didn't flinch, didn't stand, didn't say a word. Mina's voice came out thin. What happened to her? She stopped coming to events, died a year later. I think something inside her just folded. He turned to Mina. Fully. I was 13. A long silence. Then she reached out. Not fast, not dramatic. Just placed her hand on his. His fingers didn't move at first. Then slowly, his palm turned upward, meeting hers. They didn't squeeze. They didn't shift. They just held. Quiet. Still. Warmth and cold air. Her voice came again. So this isn't just about me? He shook his head. It's about stopping something. She looked down at their joined hands. You've always had power, haven't you? His brow tightened slightly. That's what they say, but you never used it like this before. No, why now? He looked straight at her. Because power that only protects itself dies in silence. Her eyes locked with his. A beat passed, then another. He pulled his hand away, not abruptly, gently, reached into his jacket, pulled something out. A thick, heavy ring, gold, aged, carved with an old emblem. She looked at it. What's that? Family crest. He held it in his palm like it weighed more than metal should. My grandfather passed it to my father. He passed it to me. Every major Grimaldi deal was signed with this ring on a hand. She looked at him. Then why do you look like you hate it? He stared down at it. Because it stands for something I no longer believe in. He placed it on the table between them. The metal clinked against the wood. Mina didn't reach for it. She didn't have to. The weight of the gesture filled the air. He leaned back, arms crossed again. Legacy means nothing if the next story is written in shame. Mina's breath caught in her chest. She stared out at the skyline. The buildings looked different now. Not taller, just quieter. She glanced at him again. Noticed the way his chest moved slower now. Like something inside him had finally exhaled. Can I ask you something? He nodded once. What happens if your mother fights back harder? He didn't blink, didn't shift. He looked her straight in the eye. Then we build louder kindness. Elvira sat on the edge of the velvet chair, back straight, pearls tight at her neck. The lighting crew had dimmed the room just right, warm, intimate, rich. The producer smiled, the camera rolled, and the interviewer leaned in with the softness. Only people trained in reputation management knew how to perform. Mrs. Grimaldi, there's been a lot of talk this week about your son. Elvira smiled. Of course there had been. She crossed one leg over the other, not too fast, not too slow. Her dress, ivory silk, rested like power woven into fabric. She didn't look at the camera. She looked past it. Like royalty, never addressed the audience directly. "It's unfortunate," she said, voice calm. "What's happened to Salvo? I raised him to value precision, power, dignity." The interviewer nodded. "And the woman, Mina?" Elvira tilted her head. "I believe she played her part well." "Played?" "Yes. She knew what she was doing. The quiet type always do. They know how to slip into spaces where they don't belong and make you believe they earned it." A pause. She added, "She played poor, wore it like perfume, and my son, being too generous, fell for it." The interviewer blinked. "Are you saying she manipulated him?" Elvira's lips barely moved. "I'm saying he's a fool." The clip aired that night. It spread faster than anyone expected. Clipped, reposted, captioned, shared. The quote hit every screen. "She played poor. My son is a fool. Elvira Grimaldi." Within hours, the hashtags rolled in. Grimaldi Falschi played poor. Mina deserved better. Some commenters praised Elvira's candor, but most didn't. "She's out of touch. Tell me you hate women without saying it. Power built on polished insults is no power at all." Still, it spread. Mina saw the clip while eating a granola bar behind the office bookshelf. She didn't cry. She just sat there, knees to her chest, hands stiff, throat burning. Raina sent a voice note. "Don't believe a word of that fake lady's interview. You are gold." Mina. The foundation staff didn't speak to her that morning. They kept their heads down, not out of hate, out of discomfort. No one knew how to approach a woman who was being dragged publicly by one of the most powerful socialites on the coast. At noon, an envelope landed on her desk. Inside, tabloid clippings, photos from high school, one with a boy who looked twice her age, one at a house party, half drunk, holding a red cup. The headline read, "Grimaldi Girl? Or Grifter in Lip Gloss?" Mina stared at the pictures, 12 years old. Somewhere in there she had a bad haircut and crooked teeth. She didn't recognize the girl, but the damage wasn't in the image. It was in the suggestion that her past made her unworthy. She folded the paper in half and shoved it in her desk. Didn't say a word. By 3 p.m., 2 more articles surfaced. One accused her of sleeping her way into the foundation. The other claimed she once shoplifted gum at a corner store. That one included an unnamed source. She didn't eat that day, didn't drink water. At 5:15 p.m., she walked out without clocking her exit time. The elevator was too slow, so she took the stairs. 3 flights down, her knees gave out. She sat on the step and pressed her palms on her eyes. No tears, just pressure. Then, footsteps, quiet, intentional. She didn't look up, but she knew the stride. He didn't sit, just stood, nearby, watching. She said, "I thought it'd stop." He stayed silent. She added, "I thought if I just kept my head down, she'd move on." Still, no answer. She said, "I'm tired." Her voice cracked. That did it. He stepped forward, crouched down in front of her. One hand reached, paused, then touched her knee. She looked up, slowly. His eyes were steady. No rage, just presence. "I can't stop her words," he said, voice low. "I know. But I can stand next to you while they echo." Her breath caught. He added, "The more she speaks, the more they see her for who she is." She didn't believe it yet, but the way he said it made her want to try. That night, Salvo sat alone in his study. No screens, no noise, just the folder in his lap, the original one. Clippings from the first time Elvira embarrassed someone out of the family name. Back then it was handled quietly, but he remembered. He'd saved the headlines. She had a pattern, build image, burn threats. He ran his finger over the newspaper edges, folded, filed, then burned them in the Comer dish. The next day, a reporter approached Mina outside the bookstore, hair curled, mic tucked under her coat, a white smile. "Mina," she said, soft, I know you're not doing press, but we'd love to hear your side. Mina tightened her scarf. I'm not giving a statement. The woman stepped closer. We're running a front page piece. You can clear your name, get ahead of it. No. You don't want to correct the record? Mina looked her dead in the eye. I don't want to play the game, then walked away. What would you do if the world painted you wrong? But your silence was louder than the lies. Would you speak or let the truth unfold? Comment below and keep watching, because the next move isn't hers. It started with a burner account, a 10-second clip. No caption, no tags, just the video, security footage. La Felicita, clear as daylight. Elvira's voice, mocking. Her cousin chuckling. Mina's face stiff with quiet hurt salvo. The line replayed on loop. You taught me respect, but I see now it was only meant for people you considered your equal. Then the audio cut. But it was enough. It spread like wildfire. Not from Mina. Not from Salvo. Someone else had uploaded it. The internet did the rest. Respect is louder. Mina did nothing. Elvira exposed. Comments flooded in. This is what class looks like. She didn't clap back. She stood tall. You ever see a man pick dignity over blood? Now you have. Mina didn't post a response. She didn't need to. Her inbox filled with messages from strangers. You gave me strength today. I walked out of a toxic house after watching that. I wish someone stood up for me like that. By midnight, Salvo's office received over 400 messages from women asking how to apply for the Foundation's aid programs. Mina sat at her desk the next morning, staring at the number. She whispered, "It worked." Salvo stood in the doorway. She turned. He said, "Nothing." She smiled. He finally smiled back. There was no music on the video, just grainy security footage from the upper left corner of La Felicita's main dining room. But the audio, that was clear. Every word, every insult, every moment. Elvira's voice came first. She smells like work. A beat. Laughter. Her cousin, she looks like she borrowed those shoes. Then the camera caught Mina's face. The blink, the way her mouth barely moved. The silence she held on to like it was the only dignity she had left. Then came Salvo. His chair scraped back. His hand placed the napkin down. You taught me respect, but I see now it was only meant for people you considered your equal. That line echoed. It repeated. It hit. The internet didn't sleep that night. By morning, the clip had passed 5 million views. By noon, 10. Different accounts, different edits, same message. A woman mocked in public. A man who didn't yell, didn't threaten, just stood on business. The hashtag Grimaldi footage trended across countries. Mina didn't post. Salvo didn't comment. But they didn't have to. Support came in waves. First, from strangers. Then from survivors. Then from people with no name, no following, no platform. Just voices that had been quiet for too long. I know what it feels like to be dismissed while standing still. She looked like me. My own mother-in-law said something worse. No one stood up for me. But I shall stand up for myself after this. The stories piled into the comment sections. Mina didn't know how to respond. So she didn't. She just kept reading. Until she couldn't anymore. 3 days after the video dropped, brands started reaching out. Makeup companies, fashion lines, a bookstore chain. We'd love to align with your story. One brand offered her a feature campaign and a $30,000 contract. Another offered a silence to strength theme. Raina squealed when she read the first one. Girl, we are leaving this city in a helicopter. Mina folded the paper. No. Raina blinked. No? I didn't do anything. You became the internet's favorite example of grace under fire. I didn't ask to be that. I know. But it's still yours. Mina shook her head. If I take their money, it becomes theirs. Raina exhaled. You're so honorable it hurts. Mina smiled faintly. Sometimes it does. She returned to the bookstore the next week. Just part-time. One shift. Then 2. Customers looked at her differently now. Some approached her softly. Others pretended not to notice her. A few whispered while she stocked shelves. She didn't mind. She missed the dust, the pages, the way her fingers could move without being watched. She missed being nobody. Not for long. Just enough. It was a Friday when Salvo came in. He wore a long-sleeved shirt, slight stubble. Calm walk. Salvo stepped into the bookstore like he'd been there 100 times. Mina looked up from behind the counter. He didn't say anything. He walked down one aisle, picked up a hardcover, read 2 lines, put it in his basket, then another, then another. She watched him from the register, arms crossed, one brow raised. When he reached the front, she glanced at the titles. How-tos, 1 cookbook, 2 mystery novels, and a children's bedtime collection. He shrugged. You're not reading any of these. I know. Then why? He placed his card on the counter. Because you work here. She scanned the books. I'll give you a discount. No, you already have everything, Salvo. I don't have these. From here. Handed to me by you. She paused, then rang him up, placed the books in a paper bag, handed them to him with both hands. Thank you, she said. He held the bag like it mattered, then asked, You free? She looked at Raina in the back, raising a brow. Raina gave a thumbs up. Mina walked around the counter. He opened the door for her. They walked down the street in silence. They passed a mural of an old poet, a boy playing the violin on the sidewalk, a woman yelling at a pigeon, normal life still happening, while the world online was busy worshipping or hating her. Mina stopped at a bench near the comber. He sat beside her. She rested her hand on the wood, close but not touching. I needed this, she whispered. I know. She looked up at the clouds. I thought I'd feel big by now. You don't? No. I feel small but grounded. He nodded. That's where real power is. She turned to him. Are you okay? He gave a small breath. Most. What about your people? Some stayed, some vanished. What about her? Elvira? She nodded. She's too quiet. Mina turned back to the sky. That means she's planning. Yes, but she already lost. Yes, then what is she planning? He looked straight ahead. To save her name. When pride breaks but refuses to surrender, how far will it go to restore its illusion? Drop your thoughts in the comments if you've ever watched someone fight to protect the version of themselves that no longer exists. The next week brought headlines no one expected. Several key Grimaldi donors pull out of Art Trust. Elvira Grimaldi removed from Diversity Board. Advisory position terminated quietly. No official comment. These were strategic exits, one by one. Every brand that once whispered her name with pride stopped answering her calls. One news outlet published a leaked message. A board member had said, "We can't afford the optics. She's become a liability." The clip kept circling, the sound of her, laughing. The moment Salvo rose, the way Mina's face stayed still, never begging, never lowering her eyes. It played in slow loops. The soundbite became a message in itself. Respect doesn't require volume, only presence. Mina's inbox filled again, but this time the messages were different, shorter, quieter. From women who just wanted to say thank you. From men who admitted they hadn't seen it until now. From daughters. From in-laws. From strangers who recognized themselves in her restraint. She responded to 2, then logged off. That night, Raina came home with snacks and a terrible movie. They curled up on the couch with popcorn, old socks, and soda bottles. Halfway through the film, Mina's phone buzzed. She ignored it. Buzzed again. Still ignored it. Third buzz. She picked it up. Blocked number. She let it ring out, then checked the voicemail. No voice. Just breathing. Then a beep. Message ended. She stared at the screen. Blocked number again 15 minutes later. This time, text. 1 sentence. You've ruined everything. No name. But she didn't need it. She walked into the kitchen, grabbed the mail from the counter. One envelope stood out. No Reedham address. Opened it with a knife. Inside, a single sheet of thick paper. Handwritten. The same sentence. "You've ruined everything." That was it. No signature. No threats. No apology. Just that. She stared at it for one long breath, walked over to the trash can and dropped it in, then opened the fridge and grabbed a bottle of orange juice. Walked back to the couch. Raina paused. "The movie, who was it?" Mina sipped. "No one." Winter faded without headlines. The air sharpened. Coats got longer. But no reporters followed them. No flashing lights waited outside the bookstore. No secret photographers crouched near the foundation. Because Mina and Salvo made no spectacle. They just were. They walked, shared meals, sat on rooftops, talked quietly behind closed doors. It healed something in both of them. Mina led her normal life most days. She still took 2 shifts a week at the bookstore, not for the paycheck, for rhythm, for the smell of paper, the sound of the bell above the door, the familiar way dust settled in corners no one noticed. Raina would tease her. "You're literally dating one of the wealthiest men in the tri-state area and still clocking in for a $40 shift." Mina would smile. "Exactly. Salvo never told her to." Stop. He let her have her space. Let her say no when she needed time. Let her call the shots without making it a thing. And in return, she let him soften. She didn't push him to smile. Didn't ask questions he wasn't ready to answer. But over time, his voice relaxed. His walk changed. He stopped flinching when her hand touched his back in public. He started asking her how her morning was, and waiting for the real answer. That was new. By the 3rd month, she had an idea. She sat across from him one evening with a folder in her lap, legs crossed, socks mismatched. He was sipping mint tea, feet up, shirt sleeves rolled back. She slid the folder across the table. He raised one, brow, opened it. Inside, a project brief, scribbled notes, contact lists, a handwritten cover page, small hands, big steps, a quiet support fund for single mothers who fall through the cracks. She watched him read, watched his eyes scan the pages. He didn't look up right away. Then, "This is good." She breathed once. "It's not polished. It's honest." She waited. He flipped back to the front. "I'll fund it." She blinked. "You haven't even heard budget." He leaned back. "I trust your judgment." "You sure?" He set the folder down. "You're not asking for help. You're offering purpose." She smiled. He didn't return it. He just nodded, slow. "You wrote this chapter. I'm just making sure it prints." They launched it without noise. No gala. Just a website. A P.O. box. A quiet form. Applicants didn't need references. Just a note explaining their need. They received 41 letters in the first week. Salvo read every one. He didn't tell her that. He just started forwarding approved donations with the subject line, "For her." One letter came from a woman named Janetta. Her husband had passed 2 years ago. No life insurance. 1 child. Rent 3 months late. Utility bill past due. She worked full-time, picked up extra on weekends, but the school said if her son missed another lunch payment, they'd start holding him out. Mina met her in person. A small coffee shop. Plastic cups. No makeup. They sat for 40 minutes. Mina didn't promise anything, just listened. Janetta cried quietly at the end. Not because of the money, but because no one had ever asked how she was holding up. 2 weeks later, Janetta got $1,500. Grant, a new school backpack for her son, and a note in the envelope, "You're not invisible." Spring came soft that year. On the first warm Saturday, Mina and Salvo hosted a dinner in a borrowed community hall. Nothing fancy. Folded chairs, long plastic tables, local volunteers. The guests, 15 single mothers from the foundation's new list. Each one had a different story. Each one had survived something heavy. Mina wore a white blouse, hair loose, sneakers clean. Salvo wore a navy shirt and carried trays without being asked. No one knew who he was. They just saw a man who didn't mind pouring water. One woman leaned over to Mina near the end, and dusk behind the window. "Is that your cousin or something?" Mina smiled. "Something like that." Laughter echoed off the linoleum floors. The food disappeared fast. Mina stood near the back table after cleaned up, watching one of the little girls color on a paper plate. Salvo came up behind her. Good turnout. Better than expected. He slid his hand near hers but didn't touch. She turned slightly. "Thank you," she said. He shook his head. "Don't thank me." "Why not? You wrote this chapter." Her breath caught. No audience. Just them. She leaned in. He leaned back. Their lips met halfway. Afterward, they walked to the sidewalk. Her hand in his fingers brushing hers, and dusk behind the window. "Where to next?" she asked. He looked up at the night sky. "Home," she smiled. "Whose?" He didn't answer, just walked. Some days later, a man approached Mina after a small speaking panel. She had just finished sharing about the nonprofit. 5 minutes, nothing grand. He wore a sharp coat, clean shoes, held his phone in one hand. "I work with a few legacy brands," he said. "We'd love to position you for a national platform." She tilted her head. "Why?" "You've got the name now, and the face, and the story." She looked down at his phone. A photo of her. One she didn't take. She looked back at him. "I'm not looking for a platform." He smiled. "You already have one." "No," she said. "I have peace." She walked away. One afternoon, Salvo received a letter, hand-delivered. He opened it slowly. Inside, a picture of him as a boy, standing between Elvira and his father, all three in black. Underneath, a note. "We all come from somewhere, but not all of us stay." No signature. He burned that too. Didn't even tell Mina. Months passed. Quiet ones. They built something slow, soft, firm. A life without announcements, without headlines. They kissed away from cameras. They disagreed without shouting. She cooked sometimes. He learned to fix leaky pipes he didn't quite know how to fix before. She laughed at him. He let her. He bought 2 folding chairs for her bookstore desk. She replaced them with 2 cushions from a thrift store. They met in the middle. Always. One Sunday evening, Mina stood on the same rooftop where it all started. Salvo sat on the bench behind her. The sky painted itself orange and blue. She closed her eyes, inhaled, then began. Voice low, steady, like she was telling the story to herself and to whoever might listen. "The day he stood up wasn't for me. It was for who he chose to be, for what kind of power he wanted to pass down. Not the kind that wins rooms or buys silence, but the kind that leaves space for someone else to breathe." She turned slowly, met his eyes. "Not with blood," she whispered, "but with kindness." They didn't say anything else. They didn't need to. They just sat there, together, with everything they didn't have to prove anymore. If this story moved you, like and subscribe to our channel Tales of Mafia Lovers. More than crime, we tell stories about what power becomes in the hands of those who love.